All right. I think we can start now. Back from Hawaii music through Hawaii past to some lessons learned also on the Russian history and a few words about today's Hawaii. Just a couple of days ago, Alexandra and I were at Spaso House, at the residence of the U.S. ambassador, and we were discussing with our American colleagues, both civil and military men, our different current issues. But I also mentioned this seminar today and have jokingly one of our interlocutors said, Russia has any plans to claim Hawaii back, maybe together with Alaska? But definitely we both laughed because we both realized it's just a joke. And for us, it's important to keep memories of history, to have lessons learned done, to put respect to our mutual historic and cultural heritage, which surprisingly, in relation between Russia and the United States, Russia and Polynesia, Russia and Hawaii, you name it, is more than one can imagine. In this country, in Russia, stories of Fort Ross are well known, and of Russian America, Fort Ross, Hawaii, Fort Ross, Alaska. That's a lot which has been publicized. And I just brought a product from my trip to Fort Ross, this bilingual book on Russian California, which is also part of history for those who studied in Monterey, California. They also know that there is a Russian history there and Russian presence there. But again, when it comes back to Polynesian part of the United States, to the state of Hawaii and to Hawaiian archipelago, this is much less known, partly because of the remoteness of the archipelago, partly because probably we need to do more to talk about it. And today, this is our contribution to this history, which should not divide us, but provide us mutual foods for thought, hopefully in a cooperative fashion, which is not easy these days, but still we will try. For GIMO, Peer Center, and other parts of educational institutions of the Russian Foreign Ministry, like Diplomatic Academy, which is now part of GIMO, discussing Russia and Russian Hawaii or history of Russian presence in Hawaii is not that new. We did it for a number of times, and I see some colleagues here, including our American friends, who were physically face-to-face present at those discussions. Some of us were together in a beautiful island of Kaua'i when we celebrated quite a number of things, among others, of course, those pages of history. And not by full coincidence, we come back to this discussion today. There is a strong historic reason because this is exactly 210 years ago when Russian flag was raised over western part of Hawaiian archipelago on the island of Kauayi and nearby Niihau. But it is, of course, part of our educational and learning process. Here a year ago, we had a similar discussion with MGIMO students, which concentrated more on a book by Professor Niklaus Schweitzer, his Hawaiian Excellency, его гавайское превосходительство, which was marvelously translated into Russian by Irina Kolotyrkina. Looking at the online audience, I'm not certain whether they are present, Professor Schweitzer and Mrs. Kolotyrkina, but I hope at least to see them later throughout this event. A year ago, we discussed both fiction and non-fiction, because Professor Schweitzer's novel is a novel. And now I hope that our starosta here, Artyom, will make his part of the job in disseminating the book in Russian to the students, to those students who are interested, of course, in that. If this has already been done, please let me know. This has been already done, so then we hope it has been photographed and recorded properly, so that we can continue. And those interesting looking at that mix of love story and annexation story, which are very different parts of the story. Surprisingly, part of Professor Schweitzer's novel takes place in Russia, and it provides a certain very nice ambience for the book. But for our part of the conversation, more importantly, is that it also touches upon the last days of the Hawaiian kingdom, and the way how Hawaiian kingdom was replaced by U.S. rule, which later turned out into a certain certain steps, which was finalized by making Hawaii a state of the United States. Well, I already put quite a number of issues on the table, maybe more than we can absorb today. This is why I remind you that the key topic for today is not the discussion of annexation of Hawaii by the United States, but some preceding issues which took place in the first quarter of the 19th century. So we will travel back and forth in history, and with that I pass the microphone to our moderator, Anna Vinogradova, student of MA program in international security. Anna, floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Vladimir Orlov. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and distinguished guests. I'm Anna Vinogradova, a student of the MA program International Security at MGIMO University, and it is my honor to serve as the moderator of today's seminar titled Hawaii, 210 years since the Russian flag was raised over the island of Kaua'i in the history of Russian Hawaii. First of all, welcome to our seminar and to our online participants. Before we proceed, I must remind all online participants of our seminar rules. According to the Peer Center's guidelines for moderators, any participant joining remotely is required to turn on their camera and to display their real name, first and last name, on the screen. If you fail to do so, you will be removed from the session. This is not negotiable. It ensures a respectful, accountable, and professional discussion. Please comply immediately. We're grateful to Dr. Vladimir Orlov, the academic director of our program and founding director of the Peer Center, for making this seminar possible. We also thank our speakers, experts, and all of you for joining this discussion. Mr. Cynthia Lazarov, who is independent expert, Ms. Kumu Hulapuna Dawson. Makana sadly is not with us today. Also Professor Niklaus Schweitzer, who is a historian and writer. And of course, we can start. Today, 21st May 2026, marks exactly 210 years since a remarkable yet often overlooked episode in Pacific history. In 1816, on the island of Kaua'i, King Kaua'i raised the Russian flag and asked Emperor Alexander I to accept his islands under Russia's patronage. The act, brief, intense, and politically ambiguous, opens a window into the complex interplay of commercial interests, local sovereignty, and great power rivalry in the Pacific. But this seminar is not only about history. It's about continuity. The same strategic geography that made Hawaii attractive to the Russian-American company 2 centuries ago now hosts the Pacific Missile Range Facility and the Kauai Test Facility, key nodes in United States missile defense and nuclear weapons sustainment. Thus, the past and the present of Kauai speak directly to questions of international security, the role of semi-state actors, the limits of political mandates, the agency of small states, and the strategic restraint or lack thereof of great powers. Our discussion is anchored in recommended literature, most notably the book His Hawaiian Excellency, The Overthrow of the Hawaiian Monarchy and the Annexation of Hawaii by Professor Niklaus Schweitzer. Based on the diaries of Hawaiian diplomat Curtis Pieho Iakia, the book offers a deeply human and multi-layered account of how the Hawaiian kingdom lost its sovereignty. As the Russian edition's review notes, Schweitzer demonstrates that annexation was not a single dramatic moment, but a slow, step-by-step process. Economic dependence on American sugar planters, the forced bayonet constitutions of 1887, and finally the landing of the United States Marines from the USS Boston in 1893, which turned a local conspiracy into an act of foreign intervention. The book also highlights an unexpected parallel. Iakia attended the coronation of Tsar Alexander III in Moscow and visited St. Petersburg. While on Kauai, one can still find forts named Elizabeth, Alexander, and Berkeley, silent witnesses to an alternative history where Hawaii might have become part of Russia. These themes, the subtle erosion of sovereignty, the use of external partnerships by local rulers, and the tension between commercial expansion and strategic restraint are directly relevant to both the 1816 Russian episode and today's military presence on Kauai. Now, please, I will ask, yes, of course you're doing this. Thank you. Our seminar is structured in 3 parts. First is student presentations. Valeria Chernenkova and Daria Misharin will present to us 1816-2026, 210 years of the Russian flag on Kauai, history of relations between Russia and the Kingdom of Kauai, and lessons learned. Ekaterina Vasiltsova will share her personal reading impressions of Schweitzer's book, focusing on the annexation of the Hawaiian Kingdom. Polina Persitskих will then bring us to the present with Kaua'i today, nuclear and missile-related aspects covering the Kaua'i test facility, the Pacific Missile Range facility, and recent tests. Then we will have a break. After experts' comments and discussion, we will hear online from Cynthia Lazarov, Kumula Puna Dawson, and Professor Niklaus Schweitzer. After their remarks, the floor will be open for discussions and debate. Closing remarks at 8 and 20 minutes will be delivered by myself and Professor Vladimir Orlov. Thank you. Now the floor is for Dr. Vladimir Orlov. His speech for 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, Anna, for brilliantly introducing the agenda and the topic. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was not that egoistic to give all the hard work to the students to prepare presentations. Also prepared mine, which is generally based on my article in Международная жизнь journal, published a few years ago. In fact, just as a disclaimer, I traveled to Hawaii and Kauai many times. And my first trip was thanks to MGIMO professor and to the Pagosh movement, to Professor Nikitin, together with whom we traveled to the big island of Hawaii, which we do not touch today. But as it was even in the previous millennium, I still keep very warm memories of those discussions of nuclear non-proliferation, which we had almost literally in the middle of nowhere. And I very much hope that at times, at some point, we'll turn to a situation and once again, colleagues from different nations, experts would be able to discuss nuclear, non-nuclear, other issues in nice places in the middle of nowhere. But Hawaii is not nowhere. It's a very rich culture. It's very rich history, a wonderful people, a lot of friends. So I keep this memories very close to my heart. There is quite a lot actually written on Russian America, as I just mentioned. A few publications are also provided here. These are just for your information, so I'm not sure I can share them with you fully, but it's these days it's easy. Most of them, if not all of them, are also available online, and here on the screen are only some of them, including publications on Russian Hawaii. So another disclaimer is that I am not a discoverer of that fact. I had a lot of very respected predecessors, including Professor Bolkhovitinov, of course. And if we go back to the early 19th century, these were the times of the rule of a young Russian Tsar, Alexander I, and at his first part of the rule before Vienna Congress, he was very interested in Russia being expanded, being projected to different parts of the world through travel, through commerce, and through the military actions, including the North Pacific. So Krusenstern and Lysiansky are well known figures here in Russia. And I do encourage those students and others who are present, if you are interested, there are wonderful memoirs of Lysyansky published, and you can certainly find much more about their travels, including to Hawaiian archipelago, which was called those days Sandwich Islands, which had reflected also the British influence on the archipelago. Yeah, the original idea, geopolitical idea of people in St. Petersburg, including the emperor, was to establish an inner Russian lake in North Pacific with developed Russian part of the Russian part of the forest, Eurasian part of the forest, including Okhotsk, then Alaska, Aleutian Islands, Fort Ross, and something was missing: good climate and good food. In that sense, Hawaii was necessary both strategically, but also to provide a good rest for the Russian Navy and a good food for them, as well as for the Russian traders. As you're well aware of, a Russian lake in North Pacific never materialized, and I'm sure some colleagues here would mention that. Krusenstern and Lysyansky are on the screen, and now some person on the bottom right here, which will appear a few times, I think, during the seminar today, Yegor Nikolaevich, or Giorgio Georg Anton Scheffer, Dr. Scheffer, who had an interesting involvement in the war against France on the Russian side, although in German. And he was sent. Yeah, just some colleagues online should probably turn off their mics, I guess. Anyway, he was back to the presentation, please. Okay, sure, good idea. Thank you. Back to Dr. Scheffer, please. To Dr. Scheffer. It's a different slide. No, it's a different slide, please. No. After Nadezhda and Neva. Okay, we got all the presentation now. Yes, thank you. So Dr. Scheffer, an adventurer, a doctor, an explorer, a German-Russian citizen, very much Russian citizen, was sent to Hawaii by a person called Baranov, governor of Russian-American Company, and just a very juicy personality himself. Indeed, very few people know, but his son was also part of that Hawaii expedition, Baranov's son, from his Aleutian mistress. Baranov had a strategic vision of trade, of Russian trade, and probably of his own retirement. Retiring in Alaska or Aleutian Islands does not equal retiring in Hawaii. So in my own reading of the documents, he sent Dr. Scheffer to prepare both place for a new enlargement of the Russian Empire, but also a nice dom отдыха for the Russian American company and personally for Baranov. Scheffer didn't play it very well with the ruler of the main island, a strong man, Kamehameha, but he was not disappointed and decided to go further. By the way, it should be clear that although we speak about the traders were well armed, and they came to the Hawaiian Islands both with the friendship and with the cannons, just to make it very clear. In the island of Kaua'i, which in my view is the most beautiful there, and on the west part of Hawaiian archipelago, Scheffer didn't face any resistance on part of the local king and was accepted in the friendliest manner. Not very much surprisingly, Dr. Scheffer and his crew were attracted to the island and its beauty. As a personal note, it's not that big island, that huge island, but you can get it all. Deserts on the west, very strong winds on the east, where Cynthia's house is, very dramatic landscape on the north, and personally for me, the greatest thing, the mountains in the center and center north, where you can hike, get lost literally. Also some very challenging hikes there, strongly recommended to all the hikers. Scheffer also explored the island well. He was not a lazy guy. Of course, many people say some bad things about him, but nobody says that German Russian was lazy. He was talking to the local people. He was putting grapes, Russian grapes, on the Hawaiian soil. I'm sure potatoes as well. Appearing there, establishing good relationship with the local king Kamali, he received as gifts, as reciprocal gifts, because he also brought some gifts from Alexander I, nice ones. He was given Hanalei, which is probably the most beautiful harbor, the most beautiful bay in all Hawaiian Islands, which he very modestly renamed Scheffertal. And also he continued renaming. River Hanapepe became River Don. And also what I do recommend to do some kayaking over Hanapepe, very peaceful and relaxing. And meeting with the local chiefs, he started giving them the Russian names. So some Hawaiian chief became Vorontsov, for instance. Yes, he built the fort, which is 3 of them, which is well known. One was in the north, Alexander, obviously named after the emperor of Russia. And now there is a port hotel standing there, but they keep some memories of the Russian heritage. Fort Barclay, and most strongly Fort Yelizaveta, named after the Russian king's consort, known currently in Kawai as the Russian fort, although our colleagues from Kawai may correct me if I am wrong. And we don't know the whole story. We know that the King Kamali was illiterate. So there are some tricky things here. And this document you can see from the Russian Foreign Ministry archive is obviously a document, but how it was signed by an illiterate king is an interesting question, which we probably would never investigate. But the fact of life is that exactly 210 years ago, King Kamali documented that two of the Hawaiian islands, Kauayi and Niihau, were provided for the Emperor of Russia indefinitely. Dr. Scheffer was a very inventive guy, and he also signed a secret treaty with King Kamali, which were planning to occupy the other parts of Hawaii, which again never materialized. Internationally, it became known that the Russians started their presence in Sandwich Islands, and some in Europe in particular became a little bit nervous, as well as American whalers, Boston whalers as they were called, so they saw Russian competition appearing here. I'm sure the students would provide much of the rest of the story, so I will just give you a few hints here. First, which is important, and I would not read it, you can see it from the screen, that Russian-American company provided very clear instructions to Dr. Scheffer what he should and should not do. Most importantly, he should be polite, should have been polite and respectful to the local population. So these were his, if you like, diplomatic instructions, because Russian-American company were was probably much more than a trade company. It was an important diplomatic, at some points even military tool of the Russian Empire. And Russian traders, entrepreneurs, kupцы, expressed by the Russian-American company headquarters, wrote to St. Petersburg from Irkutsk, where the headquarters of the company was based. It's still, the building is there in Irkutsk, about the great benefits of getting Hawaii, and Kawai in particular, with the conclusion, if we don't do it, Americans will do it. We should not be shy, we should not wait, and we can do it. Surprisingly or not, the Russian Navy took a radically different position. They said, no, we do not want to go that far. We have our own issues. And at that time, they even call it foolish idea. We better concentrate on our issues rather than to go that far. But it is also true that by that time and after the Vienna Congress, Alexander I was much less interested in global ambitions and was more concentrated on his religious, spiritual ideas, and definitely much less on Kauayi. To make the long story short, Americans also intervened, seeing that Russian Navy is not appearing en masse, and tried to provoke the local Kauaian population against the Russians, including the rumors that Russia and the United States were close to war, which at that particular moment was completely the opposite. But there was no internet, and so today we probably would have called it fake news, and that were fake news, was fake news, but sometimes news traveled from St. Petersburg to other parts of the world for months, sometimes for years. That was clearly an issue on decision making on Hawaii. Plus, of course, the Germans in the Russian court were different. Schäfer was a poor German, but there were some rich Germans who occupied key positions in the Russian diplomacy. Nesselrode certainly is that guy who I have very strong personal hate to, because that was him who made a lot of harm to both Pushkin and Tyutchev. And in my personal view, partly Pushkin's duel was orchestrated by Nesselrode's wife. Anyway, that was that foreign minister, which was completely uninterested in any дома отдыха in Kawai or any strategic achievements of Russia there. And of course, discussion of Schäfer, you tell me what you think, who are Dr. Schäfer. I read his diaries, a lot of documents, primary, secondary. And
yes,
thank you. And my conclusion is that he is both egoistic adventurer of southern seas and advocate of interests of the Russian Empire in the Pacific Ocean. Because when you come to the South Seas, you just naturally become an adventurer. And even in the Russian word, adventure is not only приключение, but also aventura. So this is clearly a combination of both. Yes, Russia had to leave Kauai without that long presence there, and American missionaries appeared there very quickly, providing the doors opening for the whalers, but still using Russian rifles. Including the author of annexation of Hawaii to the United States, and that famous pineapple guy, Dole, who as a kid was playing in the island of Kauai with the Russian rifles left by Schäfer and his crew. The missionaries enjoyed very much the Russian grapes, making very good wine, but this is already a different part of the story, and how we see Kauai today. We will listen from one of our students. Thank you for your attention, and we can turn off my presentation.
Thank you so much. So we can continue. As we listen to the presentations and experts' comments, I invite you to keep in mind several cross-cutting questions. How do the lessons of the 1816, 1817 Russian Kawai episode about semi-state actors, political mandates, and strategic restraint apply to contemporary military strategic dynamics in the Pacific? What parallels and differences can we draw between Kamwali's attempt to use Russia as an external counterweight and today's debates over sovereignty, nuclear-free identity, and military basing on Hawaii? And finally, how should historical memory balance the Russian, Hawaiian, and American dimensions of places like Fort Elizabeth, Pa'ulaula? With that, I'm pleased to invite our first speakers, Valeria Chernenkova and Daria Misharina. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, today we would like to address one of the maybe less frequently discussed but highly significant episodes in the history of Russian activity in the Pacific, the Russian presence on the island of Kawai in 1816 until 1817. Although this episode was relatively short, it is important for several reasons. It allows us to consider Russia's historical engagement with the Pacific region, the role of the Russian-American company, the political situation in the Hawaiian Islands, and the way in which local and external actors interacted in a changing regional environment. For Russia, the Kaua'i episode belongs to the broader history of its presence in the North Pacific. By the early 19th century, Russian activity in Alaska, Kamchatka, Okhotsk, and the wider Pacific had already acquired serious commercial and strategic significance. Russian settlements in North America required food supplies, maritime communication, and access to stable trade routes. The Hawaiian Islands were therefore attractive not merely as distant islands, but as a possible logistical and commercial partner in the Central Pacific. In the broader Russian view, Hawaii could connect the lines of Russian activity from Kamchatka and Alaska to Fort Ross in California, and could support trade with Asia, including China. Russian contact with Hawaii did not begin in 1816. Russian ships had already visited the archipelago in 1804 during the first Russian circumnavigation under Ivan Krusenstern and Yuri Lisansky. The ships Nadezhda and Neva brought back important observations about the economy, customs, and political situation of the islands. Lisansky also met Kauayi, the ruler of Kauai, and Russian documents of that period already reflected interest in the possible economic development of the islands. However, the events of 1816 and 1817 took place in a much more complex political context. At that time, Kauai was not simply a passive object of foreign interest. The island was ruled by King Kaumoali, who was seeking to preserve his political autonomy in relation to Kamehameha I, the ruler who was consolidating power over the Hawaiian archipelago. Kamehameha had already brought most of the island under his authority, but Kauai and Nihao remained a special case. In 1810, Kauai formally accepted Kamehameha's supremacy, but Kauai remained in practice a distinct political space. This ambiguity is central to the whole episode. Was Kauai, an independent ruler, able to conclude agreements with external powers, or a subordinate ruler trying to use foreign support against Kamehameha? This question was already politically sensitive at the time and remains important for historical interpretation. Therefore, the Russian presence on Kauai should be understood as the result of interaction between Russian interests in the Pacific and the internal political dynamics of the Hawaiian kingdom. Kauai was not merely reacting to Russian initiative. He was also pursuing his own strategy. The key Russian actor was the Russian-American company. It was a chartered company with state support and was responsible for Russian activity in Alaska and the North Pacific. However, it is important to distinguish the company from the Russian imperial government itself. The company represented Russian commercial and strategic interests in the region, but its agents often operated in a complex space between trade, diplomacy, and political initiative. The immediate background of the Kawai episode was the wreck of the Russian-American company vessel Bering near Waimea, Kaua'i in 1815. The ship had been sent to purchase food supplies, but after the wreck, its cargo became a matter of dispute. Alexander Baranov, the chief manager of the Russian colonies in America, estimated the losses as substantial, but instead of sending a punitive expedition, he chose a more peaceful solution and sent Dirk Anton Schäfer to Hawaii. Schäfer was a German physician in the service of the Russian-American company. He was not a formal ambassador of the Russian Empire, and he did not possess unlimited authority to make political commitments on behalf of the Russian state. His original mission was connected with a compensation for the lost cargo and the development of relations with local authorities. Initially, Schäfer attempted to establish relations with Kamehameha I. This was logical because Kamehameha was the most powerful political figure in the Hawaiian Islands. However, this direction did not produce the desired results. Schäfer then turned to Kauai, where Kauai was more open to cooperation. For Kauai, contact with the Russian representative had clear political meaning. A cooperation with Russia could offer an external counterweight and create additional room for maneuver. For Schäfer, cooperation with Kauai created an opportunity to strengthen the Russian-American company's position in the Pacific, secure commercial privileges, and possibly establish a wider political agreement. In 1816, relations between Schäfer and Kauai developed rapidly. According to Russian accounts, Kauai showed a favorable attitude toward the Russian representative. Houses for a trading post and gardens were established in the Waimea Valley with the help of islanders provided by the king. Russian sources also mention that 3 fortifications were laid in Kauai: Elizaveta, Alexander, and Barclay. The most important of them was the stone fortress Elizaveta, later known as Fort Elizabeth or Paulaula. The symbolic geography of the episode was also significant. The Hanapepel River was renamed the Don, and local chiefs were sometimes given Russian names, as Vladimir Andreevich already mentioned in his speech. These details may seem secondary, but they show how quickly political symbolism developed around the Russian presence on Kauai. The highest point of the Russian Kauai rapprochement came in May 1816. And on the 21st of May, Kauai referred to in Russian documents as King Tamari, signed an act asking Emperor Alexander I to accept Kauai and Nihao under his patronage. According to the text of the act, Kauai took the Russian flag from the Russian-American company ship Открытие as a sign of loyalty and devotion. From a historical perspective, this document is extremely important. It shows that the raising of the Russian flag on Kauai was not merely ceremonial. It was connected with a political claim and with Kauai's attempt to place his islands under Russian patronage. However, the legal and political basis of this arrangement remained fragile. Schäfer's actions moved beyond the original task of recovering property and developing trade. He began to act as if he could guarantee a level of Russian support and had not yet been formally approved by St. Petersburg.
Sorry for interruption, you've got 8 minutes.
Yes, so I think I will pass the speech to my colleague, Daria.
So, thank you. The Russian presence on Kauai reached its peak in 1816, but it declined very quickly. The project depended on several conditions. The continued support of Kaumauli, The ability of Sheffer to maintain relations with local and foreign actors, the support of the Russian American company, and most importantly, the willingness of the Russian imperial government to approve or at least to tolerate the political commitments made in Russia's name. These conditions did not hold. The first reason was the absence of clear authorization from St. Petersburg. Sheffer's original mission was limited. It was connected with the recovery of Russian-American company property and the development of relations. It didn't automatically amount to a formal state policy of establishing direct political control over Kauayi. Thank you. For the Russian imperial government, the situation required caution. Russia had serious interests in the North Pacific, especially in Alaska, but a deeper political commitment in Hawaii could have created complications with Kamehameha, with British and American commercial interests, and with the wider balance of maritime power in the Pacific. The decision of St. Petersburg was later formulated quite clearly. In 1818, Foreign Minister Karl Nesselrode reported the view of the emperor that accepting the islands under Russian patronage would not bring Russia substantial benefits and would instead be associated with serious inconveniences. The emperor wished to preserve friendly relations with Kauayi, but not to accept his act limiting policy to friendly relations and to the promotion of trade between the Russian-American company and the Hawaiian Islands. The decision is important because it shows strategic restraint. The Russian authorities did not deny the value of relations with Hawaii, but they did not consider it necessary to transform Sheffer's initiative into a full political commitment. The second reason was the position of Kamehameha I. From his perspective, any foreign-backed strengthening of Kauayi threatened the consolidation of the Hawaiian Islands under his authority. The Russian connection with Kauayi was therefore not a neutral commercial matter. It directly affected the internal political balance of the Hawaiian archipelago. The third reason was the activity of foreign actors, especially American traders and ship captains. American commercial interests in Hawaii were already strong, and a Russian foothold of Kauayi could have changed the competitive environment. So, the next reason. The fourth reason was Sheffer's own conduct. He acted with ambition and energy, but also with insufficient caution. He treated a limited commercial mission as an opportunity for a much wider political arrangement. This created expectations among local actors and concern among external ones. Once it became clear that his initiatives would not receive full imperial backing, his position became vulnerable. By 1817, the Russian project of Kauayi had collapsed. The Russian flag had indeed flown over the island, and Russian representatives had attempts to create a political commercial foothold. However, the arrangement did not become a stable or long-term Russian position in Hawaii. After Sheffer's departure, the fort remained, but it continued within Hawaiian political life rather than as Russian-controlled outpost. So, what was the relation between Russia and the Kingdom of Kauayi? They were short, intense, and politically ambiguous. They were not formal diplomatic relations in the modern sense. Rather, they involved several overlapping levels: the interests of the Russian-American company, the personal initiative of Sheffer, the political strategy of Kauayi, and the cautious position of the Russian imperial government. For Kauayi, Russia represented a possible external partner that could strengthen Kauai position. For Sheffer, Kauai represented an opportunity to secure a Russian foothold and expand the role of the Russian-American company. For the company, Hawaii was valuable for supplies, trade, and maritime access. For St. Petersburg, however, the issue had to be assessed through a wider strategic lens, including costs, risks, distance, and international consequences. From a Russian academic perspective, this distinction is important. The Kauai episode should not be reduced to a simple story of failure. It reflected...
Sorry for interruption, you've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. It reflected the real breadth of Russian activity in the Pacific and the ability of Russian actors to engage with distant political communities. At the same time, it showed the limits of action when commercial initiative, local politics, and imperial strategy were not fully aligned. It is also useful to mention that Russian-Hawaiian context did not end completely with the departure of Sheffer. In the early 20th century, Hawaii became a transit and settlement point for migrants from the Russian Far East. The Hawaiian Islands served as a bridge for immigrants from the Russian Far East on their way to the New World, and Russian migration intensified after the Russo-Japanese War, partly because American authorities sought to diversify the plantation labor force amid concerns about the growing Japanese population. In 1909, recruiters working with the Hawaiian Territorial Board of Immigration began attracting settlers from Russian Manchuria and the Far East. The first group arrived in Honolulu in October 1909, and by July 1910, there were 1,799 Russian settlers in Hawaii. However, many of them faced conditions very different from those promised by recruiters.
It's time to conclude.
So, going to conclusions. There are several lessons that we need to know. The first lesson concerns the role of semi-state actors. The Russian-American company was not an ordinary private company. It acted with state support and represented Russian interests in the North Pacific. However, it was not identical to the Russian imperial government. This intermediate position gave the company flexibility but also created risks. The second lesson concerns political mandate. In international relations, authority matters. A promise of protection or support can have serious consequences if such a promise is not backed by clear authorization and resources. It can create instability. The third lesson concerns the agency of smaller political actors. Kauayi did not simply react to Russian initiative. He actively pursued his own political objectives. He saw cooperation with Russian representative as a way to strengthen his position in relation to Kamehameha. The fourth lesson concerns maritime strategy. The Hawaiian Islands were strategically valuable because of geography. For Russia, whose Pacific presence was...
Daria, sorry, you ran out of time. Thank you.
Thank you for attention.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we invite Ms. Ekaterina Vasiltsova, student of MA Program International Security, with her presentation, His Hawaiian Excellency in Russian Translation, Personal Impressions after regarding the book and key findings on history of annexation of the Hawaiian Kingdom, please.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you. Today, I would like to share my personal expressions after reading Niklaus Schweitzer's novel His Hawaiian Excellency in the Russian translation by Irina Koloturkina, and explain what it taught me about the annexation of the Hawaiian Kingdom. So, to be honest, I expected an exotic island story, something light and distant. However, very soon the book turned into a serious and emotional reflection on how a small monarchy can gradually lose its sovereignty under extreme external pressure. First, I think I need to say a few words about the author. And since Professor Schweitzer is with us today, I will not go into his biography in detail. I will only mention that Niklaus Schweitzer is a Swiss historian, honorary consul of Switzerland in Hawaii, and a member of the Royal Order of Kamehameha, one of the highest distinctions a foreigner can receive. So, the novel is told through the eyes of Colonel Curtis Piehu Iaukea, a real historical figure, court official, and diplomat of the Hawaiian Kingdom. Through his service to King Kalakua and Queen Liliuokalani, we see not only ceremonies and receptions, we see his doubts, his loyalty to the monarchy, and his efforts to defend the dignity of the court. I'm not exactly eloquent, so I would like to read a quote from one of the readers that I completely agree with. Very honest as a character, he rejoices when he should rejoice and condemns his own shortcomings without avoiding the names of those who played a key role in the coup. Behind the personal story of Colonel Iaukea, a broader political picture emerges. By the way, the novel covers from 1883 to 1938. Way back then, American sugar planters and missionary families became increasingly powerful, while the monarchy grows weaker. As a result, annexation appears not as one dramatic event, but a slow and deliberate process. I would like to be more specific and to see this process. So first, economic dependence allows American sugar planters to gain influence over royal decisions. Then, in 1997, King Kalakua is forced to sign the Bayonet Constitution, as we can see from the name, under the threat of violence, which sharply reduces the monarch's power and strengthened wealthy foreign landowners. And then Queen Liliuokalani tries to restore royal authority, but conspirators move against her with confidence because US troops from the US ship Boston are already present in Honolulu. And then followed a formal annexation in 1998 during the Spanish-American War, and it only confirms a reality that had already taken shape in politics, law, and everyday life. And as Professor Schweitzer writes, the island became victims of their geographical position. And I would like to say a little bit more about the Queen, because this character is portrayed very interesting. And I should say that Queen Liliuokalani was the last reigning monarch of the Hawaiian Kingdom. She came to power in 1891 after the death of her brother, King Kalakua, and tried to restore royal authority while protecting the rights of native Hawaiians. And it's important that the book presents her as a dignified and determined leader rather than a passive victim. When she attempted to introduce a new constitution, local conspirators backed by US forces, obviously, overthrew her in 1893. What makes this portrait especially powerful is her courage. She resists honorably, even as her political space continues to shrink. And I would like to speak about like 3 key takeaways of my own.
Sorry,
So-
you've got 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be short. So, in this book, we can feel the sovereignty. This novel, it feels concrete and almost physical. It exists in language, rituals, flags, and public ceremony. Also, the book shows how economic interest, legal change, and military power can work together in colonial setting. Taken separately, of course, each element may seem normal, like trade, reform, security, but yet together they form a mechanism that a small state can hardly resist. And the third, maybe my favorite part, as the novel preserves the dignity of Hawaiian actors. Lilio Kulani and Iaoke are not shown as passive victims, but as people trying to act honorably with increasingly narrow space of choice. For me, this human dimension was one of the most moving aspects of the book. A little bit about some unexpected dimension, especially for Russian-speaking readers. So part of the action takes place in the Russian Empire. Iaoke attends the coronation of Alexander III in Moscow and receptions in St. Petersburg. So to conclude, this book is not only a historical novel about Hawaiian past. It's also a profoundly human story about how people experience the loss of their country from within. And I highly recommend it to anyone interested in international relations, colonialism, or simply a well-written and deeply honest story. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ekaterina. Now we invite Ms. Polina Persitsky, student of MA Program International Security, presentation Kauai Today, nuclear and missile related aspects, please.
Okay, thank you so much for your attention. And let us speak about nuclear aspects of Kauai. Where is it? Okay, it is important to distinguish between storing nuclear weapons and testing or developing them. All nuclear weapons were completely withdrawn from the Hawaiian Islands to the continental United States in the early 1990s. However, Kauai plays an important role in programs to maintain nuclear weapons and develop a delivery system. And it is quite interesting that in 2025, the United States discussed a decision to return nuclear cruise missiles to the arsenal of nuclear-powered submarines. Let's speak about Kauai Test Facility, KTF. It remains a key site for this activity, and it is managed by Sandia National Laboratories on behalf of the United States Department of Energy and supports the work of the National Nuclear Security Administration. KTF provides a wide range of testing opportunities, and since operations began in 1961, the facility has supported more than 400 launches. Its tasks include missile defense testing, developing re-entry vehicle technologies, testing materials and components, and developing onboard sensors and telemetry. KTF offers a vertical launch complex, rail launchers, secure assembly hangars, a launch control center, and a large impact area in the Pacific Ocean. And this makes it an ideal place for testing systems that must work in different environments. Let's speak about Pacific Missile Range Facility, PMRF. It is also known as Barking Sands. It is the main facility that supports testing. It is the world's largest instrumented multi-environment range for testing in underwater, surface, air, and space environments. So let's speak about size and capabilities of it. The range covers about 1 1,100 square miles of ocean area and 42,000 square miles of controlled airspace. The United States Navy, Army, and contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon use PMRF to test weapons and technologies. And what's about economic and social impact? PMRF is Kauai's largest high-tech employer, with about 900 residents and 80 military personnel. Here you can see a chronological list of key events at PMRF. So please skim this text because I have a lot of examples. Here is 4, and just in 30 minutes, I will change the slide, and you will see another examples. So here is another list, and I guess that is quite interesting. Look at October 29 of October in 2025. There was the Russian intelligence ship Karelia, and it was spotted about 15 nautical miles from Oahu, Hawaii. And the United States Coast Guard tracked its activities and confirmed it was near United States waters. Just an interesting fact. And we will switch to space and anti-ship activities. So the 293rd Space Forces Squadron based and at PMRF, and it highlights the growing role of the range in the space domain for United States defense. And NSM exercises at PMRF aim to improve the United States' ability to counter the Chinese Navy as part of an island chain strategy. And the Marines are fielding remotely operated NMESIS system with NSM missiles, which have a range of up to 115 nautical miles. So modernization programs are quite interesting because KTF is a key site for the Hotshot program, and this program allows NNCA scientists to quickly test new technologies for future nuclear warheads intended for life extension programs of the existing arsenal and the deployment of the new HDRH radar at PMRF on Kaua'i is being actively discussed. It is just an interesting fact about lease extension. A key controversial issue is the renewal of the land lease for PMRF, and the agreement with the state authorities runs until 2027-2030. And was signed in the 1960s at a symbolic price of $1 for these acres of land. As of May 2026, the lease extension has not yet been officially decided, and negotiations between the United States Navy and the state of Hawaii are ongoing. And the commander of the United States Pacific Command has publicly confirmed the importance of the negotiations for the future of the facility. And negotiations are made more difficult by the state's recent refusal to extend the lease for another large military facility, the Pahakuloa training area on the islands of Hawaii. That case created an important legal precedent and led to more careful preparation of documents for PMRF. Thus, the military and state authorities continue to look for a mutually acceptable solution, and the next key step will be the release of the final version of the environmental impact statement, which will form the basis for a final decision. So that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for great timing. So it's time to break. And now announcing a 10-minute break until 19:10. 20 minutes, yes, that's right. Wait, I said 10 minutes. No, that's my mistake. You've got break for 20 minutes. So we started the second part of our seminar and the discussion. Please, now we're going to listen to Ms. Cynthia Lazarov, who is independent expert. Please, are you with us? Please turn on your microphone on. Hello? Sadly, we don't hear you. Yes?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And I'm so honored to be here. It's really a pleasure to be joining you all this morning from my home far away in the middle of the Pacific Ocean here on the island of Kaua'i that you all have been speaking so very profoundly about this morning. And it's a morning where the strong eastern winds that Professor Orlov mentioned are blowing. So I have shared some photos with Artyom, and Artyom, if you could please just share the first photo over these next words, I would appreciate it. I just want to say that I'm blessed to live beneath the mountain Kalalea, which is a sacred mountain in the native Hawaiian tradition. It's the place where all the souls enter the earth. That mountain is right behind me, and across a yard next door to me, in front of me, is the ocean. So I live between the mountains and the sea. And in Hawaii, when we begin, we like to talk about where we're actually placed. So this is the place. And I want to say that it's so wonderful to see you, my dear old friend Volodya, Professor Orlov, again. It's been a very long time, too long a time, since we've had a chance to engage in a discussion like this. The last time we talked about the history of Russia-Kauai relations was back in 2018 at the Diplomatic Academy at Meade. And so much has changed in the world since then, but some things are enduring and never change. And one of those enduring things is friendship. Speaking of enduring friendship, I have a message from our dear friend, Hawaii artist and slacky guitar master, Makana, who so very much wanted to be with us today and is so sorry he can't join. But he asked me to send you all and share his warm aloha, and he wanted me to read this message to you. Quote, I left my treasured guitar in Moscow in 2018. Capital letters. And I never leave my guitars behind! Exclamation point. I had expected to return shortly thereafter. After all, I had never met a people so poetic, so restrained on the surface, yet unfathomably deep, once guard dropped. The conversations, laughter, philosophical exchanges, music, and dignity of every Russian I met lives in my heart and calls me to return the moment I am able. So those are Makana's words, meant for you, Volodya, and everyone. And there's a story behind these words. And so thank you, Artyom, for sharing that first photo. If you could go to the next two as I speak over this little story. In 2018, we organized an Aloha concert for Makana in Russia, and he played at the Trialogue Club at Meade and many other places. At the end of the trip, he left his guitar with Professor Orlov because he said that he knew if he did, he would have to come back to share aloha again and be with the wonderful Russian people. So this is a sign of true enduring friendship, trusting you with his guitar. And so now I just want to come to my notes on your really excellent presentations. I was very moved and inspired by so many things that you all said. Professor Orlov, you said that our history should not divide us. That really resonated with me at this time. It was true back then, 210 years ago, and it's even more true today in the world that we're living in the nuclear age. I also want to note and commend the impressive depth of knowledge and care and interest in Kauai relations that the younger generation brought to the conversation, which is so important for the preservation of history. So Valeria, Daria, Katerina, and others, Anna, really, really, really impressed, and for your caring. So as I've been reflecting this morning, and I think about this theme of what's enduring, the history of Kauai relations is enduring. the history of Kauai people-to-people relations is enduring from 210 years ago to the present day. And in fact, all of you engaged in this process, in this seminar, the one back in fall 2018, Volodya, you coming here, I think more than 20 years ago and carrying this forward, and the professor who wrote the book who is with us as well, and this moment that we're in now, it's all part of this shared history. So I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that and appreciate what everyone is doing here. And I now want to just come to Paulina's comments on the nuclear and missile related aspects of Kauai, which is so important in the times that we're living in. And I appreciated your comments about KTS and PMRF and the impending expiration of the military leases in 2029 across the Hawaiian Islands. And the first thing I want to say is that this pending expiration is really on the minds of so many across the Hawaiian Islands, not only here on Kauai. And this is leading to a lot of reflection and an assessment and reassessment of what the true costs of the US military presence is to the Hawaiian Islands, both in terms of the environment, the impact on the Aina, which is the native Hawaiian word for the land. There's a saying here, Malama Aina, care for the land, the impact on the care for the land, on the quality of life and the native culture. So there is increasing attention being paid to this and to the, as I said, the impending expiration of the leases and a movement around all of that. So it's something that for you who really are interested in what's happening here in Hawaii is something to really pay attention to in the coming years. The other point, Paulina, that I want to mention is that when I moved to Kauai in 2015, I didn't know that we had KTS and I didn't know about PMRF, that we live here with the largest missile defense testing site in the world. And I did not know the obvious, therefore, that all of this and the location of the Pacific Command here in Hawaii and on Oahu, et cetera, that this makes us a very important target in war and in the unthinkable nuclear war potential. So this took on a very profound significance for me when early on the morning of January 13th, 2018, I was one of over 1 million people across the Hawaiian Islands who all got this message on our cell phones. Artyom, if you could share that slide, the next slide about the missile alert, I would appreciate it. So we got this early in the morning and it said, ballistic missile threat inbound to Kauai, seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. And after getting confirmation from a journalist that our county government was telling us to take shelter, I spent the next 38 minutes trying to prepare my family to survive a possible nuclear attack. And the moment it became the most real for me was as I was racing to shelter in a cave. And I called my daughter in LA to say, I love you and goodbye for what I thought might be the last time. So at that moment, all of the presence here of PMRF and everything else became very, very front and center for me. When I actually reached her finally after trying her for a long time and not being able to get through as I was racing to shelter, time stopped for me and I didn't want to let her go. And I really wondered if I would ever see her again. And we now know that millions of us, or hundreds of thousands of us across the Hawaiian Islands, were all actually calling our families at that moment to say, I love you and goodbye for what we thought was the last time. I wondered if it could be the beginning of an accidental nuclear war between the United States and Russia, the beginning of the end of everything we know and love and cherish. Anyway, it took our government, it's a long story, but it took our government 38 minutes to get the message out that it was a false alarm. And even with everything I knew about nuclear weapons and nuclear war, it was unimaginable to me until I went through those 38 minutes. And now that experience lives inside of me as a mother and as a human being, and it's never going to go away. And again, going back to our sort of shared common humanity and purpose, which is something that's enduring. Back in the 1980s, we used to say, like climbers tethered together on one rope, we can either climb together to the summit or fall together into the nuclear abyss. And so my prayer and hope is that we can find our way back to that summit again, like Reagan and Gorbachev did during the Cold War. Again, on this theme of what never changes and mindful of time, I'm not sure what my time is at this point. I wanted to just come to this spirit of aloha, something that is enduring and never changes. And in that regard, I wanted to bring into this conversation my kumu, which is a teacher in Native Hawaiian, Kumuhula Punadasan, who's beloved here on the island of Kauai, across the Hawaiian Islands and beyond. And I want to actually share the last slide that I sent to you, Artyom, and share a brief story. Auntie Puna taught me something years ago. She said, there's no separation in aloha. And that is true no matter what. And in 2018, we gathered, and Auntie Puna is there in the circle, and I'm there in the circle. It's actually a heart, but she said, let's gather in a circle, and let's send aloha and love and prayers for peace to Russia. And we didn't know that a drone was taking a photo of us and that we were actually in the shape of a heart. So I am going to give the last bit of my time to Auntie Puna to share a blessing with you of aloha this morning and welcome her here. Welcome. I call her Auntie because that's what we call our elders here. So Auntie, I just want to welcome you to bring the spirit of aloha and Kauai to our Russian colleagues and friends. Are you there with us, Auntie? Can you turn on you're muted, Auntie. Can you turn on your microphone? It's in the lower left-hand corner.
Is it on now?
Yes, it is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh. Aloha, everyone. I'm so honored to be a witness to this gathering of peace and understanding. And I ask you to please put your hands, you see my hands here? Put it under your breath, breathe into it, and lift it up. That's ha in the word Hawaii. And then rub your opu, your belly button, rub your opu, and that's the wai in the word Hawaii. We come from the birth waters of our mothers, all of us. And if you come from someplace else, please let me know in the chat. And then Ionalani is that universal good. So Hawaii is really translated, it means man who is kind, mankind. And that is a translation given to me by our kupunam, our elders. I speak about this and I speak about our queen, Lili'u Kalani, and I share with you a thought. When she was in the dungeon of her palace, she would communicate to her community. They would bring her the newspapers and she would write in Hawaiian and then throw it in the trash, and the trash would go out and people would daily read what she was saying to them. She knew that there was a coup that was being planned and she wanted her people to stand down. And she wrote these words, Ho'okahi puana. Ho'okahi puana is saying, Ho'okahi puana, our world and our people, we are not going to end here. She was speaking to them in Hawaiian thought. Ho'okahi puana, let us all be one with one thought, one intention. Ko pu'uwai, we the people that come from the heart. Ko pu'uwai, let us use our heart to express our thoughts. Ika po'e I aloha. Ika po'e I aloha. Po'e is people. I aloha. She's saying nicely, Don't raise your hands. Come from the heart. Be a people that can show love, can show that we are one. Ikalahui, let our world be one. So I'm saying to all of you, and I'm going to say it in the way she gave it to us. Ho'okahi puana, kohu pu'uai, ika po'e I aloha, ikalahui. Aloha, let us all be one. Blessings as we continue on this journey of life with one another. One world in this ocean of time, making a difference in creating peace and a blanket of peace for our world. Mahalo.
Thank you, Auntie. Thank you.
Mahalo
all of
nui.
you.
Mahalo puya oi.
Thank you so much. This was Ms. Kumuhula Puna Dawson. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything that you said. Demonstrate us the part of the Hawaiian Hawaiian life and Hawaiian people, the love, the main. Thank you so much. Next word is for Professor Niklaus Schweitzer. Are you here? Hello. Sadly, we can't hear you. You need to turn on your microphone, please. Hope Alina will solve this problem by pressing yes. Please, can you turn on your microphone because we can't hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you so much. Now we can
Oh, okay,
Yes,
okay.
Niklaus, we
Aloha,
can hear
ahi,
you. Aloha.
ahi. Aloha, ahi, ahi, kako. My Honolulu boy. And thank you so much for all your wonderful contributions, beginning with Professor Alodia, and then Yekaterina, who spoke so nicely about my book. I was very moved. And aloha, ya olua ma Kaua'i. My greetings to Kaua'i. And I'm really at the loss of words because this has been so interesting and amazing in many ways. The book has been translated very beautifully by Irina Koloterkina, and I would like to thank her also for that. And Ekaterina spoke so well about it that I cannot add very much. But I can say that I wrote it because at that time, which was a while ago, almost nobody knew what really happened here and how all these things occurred with the overthrow and annexation and all of that. And but this has changed considerably in the meantime, and many people are now quite well informed. We have a new type of student who comes to my classes at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, Honolulu. They are fluent in Hawaiian, they know the history, they are very positive, and they are looking forward to a better future. And at this point, maybe I'll talk a little bit about the cooperation between Russia, Hawaii, and interestingly enough, also Switzerland, my country. And Hawaii and Russia, for instance, and Switzerland cooperated in establishing the modern reckoning of time, establishing the meridian, meaning a longitude 0. There was a conference in Washington, D.C. in 1884. 26 countries participated, and one of them was Hawaii. And another one was Russia. And the third one was Switzerland. And after long deliberations, they chose Greenwich in London. Washington at first wanted Washington in itself, but that would have cut your country into two parts if you look at the globe because of the date line. So that would not have been very good for Russia. It would have been today in Moscow and tomorrow in Irkutsk. So anyway, that was a wise decision. Then they also cooperated in the World Postal Union, which is, as you know, in Bern, Switzerland. And the World Postal Union was established by the Treaty of Bern in 1874. Hawaii joined on January 1st of 1882. The driving force behind this very important international organization, which belongs now to the United Nations, was Eugène Borel from Neuchâtel, Switzerland. And he was a federal counselor in the Swiss government and responsible for the postal service. And perhaps you know that King Kalaakaua, the brother of Liliuokalani, was postmaster general here in Hawaii before he became king. And so these two were on the same wavelength. And that allowed Hawaii to join this international organization. So while we sometimes think that the monarchy was becoming weaker as time went on, there were some different trajectories, and certainly on the international level, Hawaii was becoming stronger and not weaker. But there were these other factors which contributed to the overthrow, and I think I discussed that in the book with sufficient length. Ultimately, it's a religious problem, and we have to understand the nature of Calvinism and the mindset of the missionaries who meant well, but perhaps did not always understand Hawaiian culture. Two certainly did. We should always mention them, but many others didn't. And that was really the problem, basically. And then, of course, the strategic position of Hawaii also, when you look on the globe. So anyway, this cooperation between Russia, Hawaii, and Switzerland is really amazing. And we are still learning about that. When I wrote the novel, I had no idea of that, but it kind of confirms what's in there. So that's basically what I wanted to say. And I hope this cooperation will continue and we'll have a future with perhaps some less problems. We need good diplomacy. My students sometimes ask me, what should we do? And I say, we need good diplomats in this world. Mahalo nui, Yaoko. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much. And now we are proceeding to a question and answer session at our conference. Online participants, you may ask the questions to our speakers if you've got questions. And also the audience, you're allowed to ask questions too. So I will ask the first question then. Daria, what lessons does the Kaua'i episode provide for international security studies? Because you mentioned there in your research. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. So, this episode demonstrates several important lessons, and the first one is the risks of semi-state actors operating without any clear political mandate. So, the second one is the strategic importance of maritime logistics. The third one is the role of local policy, and the fourth one is the importance of strategic restraint in foreign policy. So I guess that's all.
Thank you. Do you have another questions to Daria or Valeria Chernenkova? Of course, you're allowed to ask. Yaroslavna? Please come to the microphone. You are allowed to sit here, right? Yes, and this is to everyone who would like to ask question to our participants, right? So please stand up and ask that into microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Daria, I have a question. So, given the fact that in the beginning of 20th century, there was a period when the Russian flag was on the territory of Kaua'i, was Kaua'i ever officially part of the Russian Empire?
The answer is no. Kaua'i has never been an official part of the Russian Empire, although the Russian flag was raised on the island. St. Petersburg has never officially accepted the Kaua'i as a part of a Russian Empire.
Thank you.
Thank you. And other questions, please? Okay, then my question to Valeria Chernenkova, please. Valeria, you mentioned the Russian Kaua'i arrangement. Could you elaborate on it, please? Was it primarily commercial, or did it also imply broader political commitments? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It was not only a commercial arrangement, although trade was an important part of it. The Russian-American company was interested in supplies, trade privileges, and also access to sandalwood. However, by July 1816, the arrangement had acquired a broader political and even military dimension, and a secret agreement was reportedly concluded between Sheffer and Koumalie, and according to it, Koumalie was expected to provide islanders for an expedition against other islands, while the Russian-American company would receive major commercial advantages. So the arrangement was connected not only with trade, but also with Koumalie's political strategy. And he was also trying to strengthen his position in relation to Kamehameha through external support. And this is why Fort Elizabeth should also be interpreted correctly. It was connected with Russian initiative and the Russian-American company, but it was also a part of the Hawaiian political context. So to understand this episode properly, we would need to consider both dimensions, the Russian role and Koumalie's own strategy.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you so much. Any questions to Daria or Valeria else? I see no one. Then we are going to continue. So my question to next participant is Ekaterina Vasiltsova. The question is, How does the case of the Hawaiian kingdom illustrate broader patterns of imperial expansion at the end of the 19th century?
Anna, thank you for your question. The Hawaiian kingdom shows a typical pattern of late 19th century imperialism, when actually economic dependence precedes political takeover. We should understand that in this case, American planters and settlers, backed by US troops, of course, helped out through the monarchy. And by this, they managed to turn an internal crisis into a tool of expansion. And a few years later, it happened a war, Spanish-American War, and it simply justified this formal annexation. And obviously with little regard for the will of the locals. So yes, the scheme is clear. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ekaterina. Do you guys have any questions to Ekaterina? Artyom, okay.
So, in David Beck's review over His Hawaiian Excellency, he argues that as a historical novel, the book shouldn't be judged entirely as history or as fiction. But what do you think? Does the novel successfully balance factual accuracy with an engaging narrative or not? What do you think about this point of view?
Thank you, Artyom. We should understand that the novel is told through the eyes of Colonel Curtis Piehoekea. Yes, well, he was a real historical figure. And of course, we should understand that there are a lot of his personal feelings, yes, personal emotions, and personal perspective, yes, about all this situation. Did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another question from Ismail? Yes, of course. Ismail, stand up.
Hello, dear colleagues. Thank you for your speeches. It was quite interesting. And I have a question also for Ekaterina, because it is quite interesting nowadays to discuss the status of Hawaii in the US. And my question is following. How do residents of Hawaii, both native and the non-native people, generally feel about Hawaii's status as a U.S. state? Do they just support this idea of being part of the U.S.?
You mean in the past when actually overthrow?
No, nowadays, do people maybe protest or maybe manifest their discontent or speak about independence?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. Well, and maybe some of our speakers from Hawaii can answer this question more clearly than I. Well, I'm an expert now in this book, you know, after reading it. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. To our online participants, you can also ask questions if you're interested in, so you can write it down that in our online chat and we can read them, yes? Or you can ask, yes, or you can ask right now.
Anna,
Yes.
I have my hand raised to address the last question, if that's
Sadly, I couldn't see you. Yes, of course, you're allowed to ask. Yes. Thank you. Cynthia.
so. I just wanted to say, and Auntie could probably address it better than I could, but that the village that I live in is the center of the Native Hawaiian sovereignty movement on the island of Kauai. That movement is still alive. And I do think that, as I mentioned in my comments, that as we move closer to the expiration date of these military leases, that movement will be more visible, perhaps, than it is right now. And I would, but in terms of that sovereignty movement and the way Native Hawaiians feel about being part of the United States, I would defer that question to Auntie, who I think would have something to say about it.
Thank you, Cynthia. This question was addressed to Daria and Valeria, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yes, please, girls, you need to answer.
I'm not sure if I understood this question correctly.
Sorry for the confusion. I was answering the last question that was asked about the state of the feelings of current Hawaiians about being part of the United States.
I think it was an answer to Ismail's question, not to
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay, so then this is Ekaterina's, right? Need to answer the previous one question. That was an answer. Thank you so much. Yes, because we mixed up a little bit. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for this comment on the question. So now, do we have another questions from our online participants? You can open, Alina, please open the chat. I need to be sure that. No questions, right? I see there. Okay, so then our last participant, this is Polina Prisitskих. I have a question also to you. Does the Kawai test facility threaten Russia? And if it's so, why?
Okay, well, I'm so sorry for my pronunciation. English is not my mother tongue, but I guess, yes, the Kawai test facility threatens Russia, and it threatens Russia for the following reasons. I guess that it tests SM-3 block interceptors capable of hitting Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles, I'm sorry. And it supports, let me remember, Aegis ashore deployments. And I believe that it erodes Russian strategic deterrence through advanced mid-course interception technologies. And it forms part of a United States global missile defense architecture and deliberately designed to counter Russian and as well as Chinese strategic forces. And hence, despite its geographical location in Hawaii, the facility's testing outcomes directly degrade Russia's security. Yes, I know that now it is a test facility, but we need to be prepared for some risks. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much, Polina, for the answer. Any questions to Polina? I see. Alexandra Zubenko, please.
I would add to the previous comment that because of the Hawaii's geographic location, it is primarily serves as a testing ground for US war planning in Indo-Pacific. Because, yeah, you very rightly mentioned all the systems that are tested there. And I really liked the way you did it. And if you look more closer into it and look into the systems that are tested there, those are the systems. Yeah, of course, there are some that are planned to intercept ICBMs, not only Russians, but North Koreans or Chinese. And primarily it serves as a testing ground for the US war strategy in the Pacific. Also in cyber domain, like hybrid war domain. So yeah, just wanted to note that.
Thank you for your comment. I will search information about it, like more closely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please. Do I see? Yes, Sergey. Miss Sergey Shashinov. You're allowed to ask question.
So first and foremost, thank you for your extensive presentation. You've managed to provide us with some peculiar information about this training platform belonging to the USA. So my question is about the future of this training ground. As far as I remember, you've mentioned that in 2026, the agreement between the US government and Hawaii expired. So I wonder whether there is an opportunity for the US to extend this agreement with Hawaii and whether you think this is a plausible scenario. Thank you.
I just want to correct you a bit. It will expire in 2027, 2030. So answering your first question statement, I guess this training ground will become more critical. What about the legal status? Is it debatable? Yes, but not in the sense of illegality. I guess that debates exist over like land-lease renewal, as you said, also native Hawaiian claims, and of course environmental impact, as our experts stated. And the base itself, it operates under a valid federal lease, and no court has ruled it's illegal. And what about the extension? I believe that extension is plausible, but it's not guaranteed. So I believe that, as I stated, Hawaii recently refused to renew a lease for Pahukuloa training area on Big Island. So we have a legal precedent. Moreover, I need to say that local opposition exists, and the state may demand like fair market rent, like not, as I said, for $1 for such vast territories, or impose conditions. So I believe that the likely outcome is a renewed lease, but with significant concessions, for example, higher payments, stricter environmental monitoring, because of some these testing facilities, they really have some problems with environment, with some species, endangered species, and enhanced native Hawaiian consultation. So the base is on their territory. And a complete non-renewal is likely given the base's importance, but I believe that delays are possible. So I guess that I answered your question.
Thank you, Polina. Probably someone from online participants also. Yes, I need to see the chat. Yes, no questions. Online participants and the audience here probably have some questions to Dr. Vladimir Orlov. He was the first participant with the presentation. No one, okay. So, yes, questions? Yes, I see Cynthia Lazarhoff, please. Yes, help us to connect. Sadly, we don't hear you. Now we will fix this.
I was just wondering, Volodya, you've worked on this for so many years, where you're planning to take this research into the future, if you have any plans of how you're going to continue with it and this exploration and what your goals are with it going into the future.
Thank you, Cynthia, for this question. Hawaii in general and Kauai in particular very close to my heart. And my main goal has been to share both my findings about the history, Russian history of Kauai, and also just the Hawaiian stories. This is why we brought some Hawaiian music here, and normally do when we discuss this that part of the world. So basically, sharing the findings, encouraging others who are interested to look both at the history and the current times. I'm not necessarily sure that we're talking here about a book project. I was playing with that at some point, but now I have other priorities which probably hijacked me from Hawaii Grand Project. So let's say as many other things in these times. This should be some small steps of sharing of those findings of history, maybe still debating them, because as always there is nothing 100% certain what we talked about. There may be a new archival findings, but to be very frank, Cynthia, no, I would better prefer to come back hiking to Kauai rather than to jump into the archives to work on them. But I would be happy if others, whether on the US side, on the Russian side, would find it interesting to dig deeper into that story. So let's say there is research, but there are also those educational activities which we have been implementing, and this part is clearly to be continued. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see we don't have questions. Yes, I need to be sure. Then please open the chat. Okay, great. So thank you everyone for a rich and thoughtful discussion. Let me now briefly summarize the key insights from our seminar and highlight the main threads that emerged. Valeria Chernenkova and Daria Misharny took us back to 1816, 1817. They showed that the Russian presence on Kauai wasn't a simple colonial venture, but a convergence of diverse actors. The Russian-American company, a semi-state actor with its own flexibility and risks. Dr. George Schaffer, whose personal initiative outran his limited mandate. King Kamwali, who actively used foreign ties to preserve his autonomy against Kamehameha I, and finally the cautious restraint of St. Petersburg. They identified 6 enduring lessons: the double-edged role of semi-state actors, the necessity of a clear political mandate, the agency of smaller political entities, the strategic importance of maritime logistics, the wisdom of strategic restraint, and the politics of historical memory as embodied by the dual name of Fort Elizabeth, Paulaula. Ekaterina Vasiltsova shared her personal reflections on Niklaus Schweizer's His Hawaiian Excellency. She emphasized that the novel makes sovereignty feel concentrate and physical living in language, flags, and daily rituals, and shows how economic interests, legal changes, and military power work together to dismantle a small state from within. She also noted the dignity of Queen Liliuokalani, who turned her imprisonment into cultural resistance through music, and poetry, leaving a legacy stronger than political power. For Russian-speaking readers, the book's parallel dimension, the Hawaiian diplomats' visits to Moscow and St. Petersburg, and the Russian-named forts on Kaua'i adds a special resonance. Polina Prisitskих brought us to the present. She clarified that no nuclear weapons are stored in Hawaii today. They were withdrawn in the early 1990s, but Kauai remains vital for missile defense tests, re-entry vehicle development, and life extension programs for the existing arsenal. The Kauai test facility and the Pacific Missile Range facility have hosted dozens of tests, including the SM-3 block intercepts, and just this February 2026, a failed SM-3 test. She also highlighted the ongoing controversy of the lease extension for PMRF. The Navy pays a symbolic $1 for 8,172 acres, and the current agreement expires between 2027 and 2030. Negotiations with the state of Hawaii are unresolved, especially after the state refused to renew the lease for another large military facility on the islands of Hawaii. This creates a critical precedent. Finally, Polina noted the paradox. Hawaii has a strong nuclear-free identity, yet the islands host infrastructure that supports nuclear delivery systems, a tension that local activists warn could make Hawaii a more attractive target. Our online experts added invaluable depth. Professor Niklaus Schweitzer reminded us that the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy wasn't inventable. It resulted from specific choices, including the USS Boston's landing, and that the cultural erasure banning the Hawaiian language, suppressing Kula, was as violent as the political coup. Kumu Ula Puna Dawson and Cynthia Lazaro spoke to the living Hawaiian tradition that sovereignty is not only a legal status, but a spiritual and cultural practice that continues today. 210 years after the Russian flag briefly flew over Kauai, the island remains a microcosm of great power competition, local sovereignty, and the enduring significance of maritime geography. The Russian episode failed not because it was impossible, but because St. Petersburg's made a rational calculation that deeper involvement would bring serious inconveniences. A decision that foreshadows today's debates about strategic overact. At the same time, the voices of Hawaiian experts today remind us that sovereignty is not only about flag and treaties, it lives in language, in the revival of Ula, in the songs written by Queen Liliuokalani, in her imprisonment, and in the insistence that places like Paulaula be remembered first as Hawaiian, not only as Russian or American. And I want to thank all of our presenters, Valeria, Daria, Ekaterina, Polina, for their engaging work. I thank our online experts for crossing time zones to share their knowledge and passion. And I thank all of you, the audience, for your attentive listening and thoughtful questions. Now it's my honor to invite Professor Vladimir Orlov to deliver his closing remarks and to offer his final reflections on today's seminar. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, Anna. Actually, as you listened to me today already, a lot on the substantive matters. I would not go back into that, particularly as we had an excellent conclusion by Anna of our discussion. So probably my task currently would be an easy one and a pleasant one. I would very much like to congratulate all the participants, organizers, and speakers at this seminar for their very important contribution on this historic day. We enlightened ourselves. I think it's a good idea to enlighten others what had happened 210 years ago. It's not that insignificant moment for the Russian history, but of course we discussed that it was a brief moment, and we made very rich conclusions over there. I think all our speakers did a great job in doing research, analysis. Again, I remind to all of us, all the participants here, that it's not a class of Russian history, of Hawaiian history. It's a class dealing with international security matters, and the fact that I forcefully injected this topic into our agenda, I hope has been beneficial to all, but at the same time, I do realize that for students switching from Iran conflict into the nuclear weapons in Europe to history of 200 plus years ago is not necessarily that easy and smooth task. So I particularly appreciate that you read this sources we recommended to you, the literature, which I also do recognize was very new to most of you. I'm particularly grateful to our online participants, to my dear friends based in Hawaii, regardless of what island they are addressing us from now, whether it's Kawai or Oahu. There are other beautiful islands in the archipelago of Hawaii, and it's good we introduced also that element to the discussion. If you like volcanoes, just visit Big Island. You can see the eruptions there from time to time. And I did see the lava, and then the lava stands still after the eruptions, and it's called A'a, if I remember it correctly in Hawaiian. But my friends certainly can correct me. And you can try Molokai, for instance, which is a very down-to-earth place with very small numbers of tourists, but with a very dramatic cliffs of Kalaupapa, and also interesting history there. You can get a lot of if you're in Moana mood and like that cartoon. There is quite a lot of Moana feeling somewhere, but Hawaii is not a fairy tale. Hawaii is a reality, sometimes with very pleasant moments of life, sometimes with that hardship which Hawaiian native population has to pass through, or is being passing in, of course, from so many miles away. It is not my role here to tell how Hawaii lives this day, but I'm very happy to see my my friends from there, and wish all of them just aloha and only good feelings and good emotions. And of course, when Cynthia brought us to that story of false alarm and her writings on that very important for all of us discussing nuclear dangers and accidental nuclear attacks. I think it also brings us very close to the current realities and tensions, which probably is not as easy to talk about as about some other less controversial things, but this is also an important fact of life. So my warm thanks, mahalo nui to my friends from Kawai, mahalo nui to all the students and participants here in this room. By the way, it's a good tradition that regardless of your ethnicity, nationality, if you live in Hawaii, you are very much encouraged to introduce a few Hawaiian words in all your writings and all your speeches. And of course, you're not forced to do it, but people happily do it, whether Niklaus or Cynthia, you also can see that. And this is a clear respect to Hawaiian rich history. So with that, I suggest that we give applause to all who spoke today and to our moderator as well. With that, I suggest that we stop the online translation and leave ourselves 5 minutes to turn back into Russian. So the seminar part on Hawaii is over now, just administrative notes on our proceedings and future plan of work. Thank you. Спасибо. The seminar part of the meeting is adjourned. Yes, did we turn off the... Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Ну что, теперь у нас традиционная пятиминутка такая. Действительно, всем спасибо. Я не буду повторяться, но среди прочего, мне показалось, отлично все поработали. Среди прочего, ну, если бы сейчас были здесь ваши преподаватели английского языка, наверное, они за большинство из вас могли бы порадоваться, вот, потому что я же вас, ну, собственно, чем мне вас по-английски тут слушать? Вот, я первый раз вас слушал по-английски. Конечно, среди просто качественных структурированных презентаций еще бы я добавил и отличное владение английским языком, что вроде бы естественно, но тем не менее правильно для нашего дипломатического вуза. Так что в этой части, мне кажется, все прошло отлично. У меня только один организационный комментарий, он связан с задачами двух аналитиков, которые вот поэтому именно конкретно семинару я предложил это сделать. Я сохраняю свою постановку задачи, но хотел бы уточнить, наверное, будет сложно, если вы будете просто суммировать вот экспертов, то, что говорилось, да, потому что все-таки там, может быть, было менее системно, поэтому предлагаю как бы суммировать весь материал семинара и не разделять, кто там был студент, кто был эксперт. Я думаю, что все достаточно экспертно выступали. Это, наверное, сделает просто, ну, вашу работу более понятной над аналитической запиской, чтобы вы не кусочничали, там ничего не выдергивали. Договорились в этой части? Спасибо. И тогда я сейчас передаю микрофон Александре. У нее есть тоже парочка для вас административных сообщений. И на этом почти все разбежимся, кроме вот той нашей группки, которая здесь традиционно остается. Но больших сборищ нам сегодня с вами, долгих сборищ, точнее, не нужно.
Да, всем спасибо за доклады сегодня. Большое спасибо за такое хорошее модерирование. 4 июня, как вы знаете, у нас научная среда с Андреем Ивановичем Белоусовым. главой нашей делегации на 11-й обзорной конференции дня. Поэтому подготовьтесь. Список литературы мы завтра вышлем. Но также просто посмотрите, вот сегодня четверг, завтра последний.
Итоговый документ, консенсус принятый тоже.
Скорее всего. Наташа Артеменкова сказала, что, видимо, не будет, поэтому...
Видимо, вам на одно чтение будет меньше.
Да. Но посмотрите просто заявление, динамику, интервью за это время тоже вышли и у нас.
Артеменкова. Есть буква Ё в русском алфавите.
Артеменкова, извините. Да. И у нас, и там на зарубежных площадках, так что подготовьте вопросы. Также мы продлили, вот завтра мы анонсируем, мы продлили подачу заявок на нашу школу. Очень будем вас всех ждать, очень было приятно послушать доклады. Такая хорошая группа, я думаю, что вам самим будет интересно и профессионально полезно, потому что на нашей школе всегда очень такой динамичный состав. Есть и представители там, зарубежных ведомств, и представители аналитического сообщества. То есть для расширения профессиональных контактов, я сама участвовала в школе в 2022 году, могу сказать, что до сих пор эти контакты, они сохранились и очень полезны, потому что эти люди, они тоже растут по карьерной лестнице. Ну и, конечно, у нас лекторский состав тоже всегда блестящий. Поэтому до 5 июня нужно прислать мотивационное письмо, рекомендацию и свое резюме. Будем ждать ваши заявки. Спасибо.
Спасибо. Аня может спокойно бить в гонг. Вот она это делает уверенно.